Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do a review of G.I. Joe, the deck building game. A game by T.C. Petty and the Heartbreakers, done by Renegade Game Studios. Now this is a deck building game wherein you are playing the Joes as they go on missions, two in the box, to be able to thwart the forces of Cobra, the evil organization that threatens the world with their schemes. It's up to us to stop them. Let's take a look inside. Alright, so what comes in every delicious box of Joe? Well, you get a deck of, well, you get quite a bit of sets of cards. The cards are divided into various spheres of usefulness, we'll put it that way. This is the typical like conveyor belt track of cards that you can buy to upgrade your hand. Every hand comes with a stack of 10 cards. You're going to get the regular old Joes. Go Joe! And these are kind of the filler ones. They start off okay, but eventually you might want to weed them out of your hand to get more powerful cards. Each of the cards has sort of they have buying power, they have stats and attributes, etc. You get 8 dice, which I almost would buy a second copy just to have more dice, because sometimes you got to re-roll, but it's no big deal. Everybody gets these cards, and then you have the hanger, because, you know, you can't just have everyone on foot. You got to actually have at least some transport. This is the permanent transport. You're always going to have the vamp. It's always going to be there for you. Then you can purchase other, more specific transports that can help you in missions contextually at certain ways. You also get the story missions, and there's 2 story missions, and they break up into various 9 different cards, and each of these is kind of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but you're going to go through and you're going to try and defeat all of this to finish the mission in a narrative format. A couple extra components here and there. You've got troopers, battalions, and then you've got a set of sort of, think of them as henchmen, but these are the people that are also going to go on the play and try and mess you up. And then complications. Every story mission is going to have some sort of complication. You're not going to know what it is until you go on the mission. Finally, you have the pain track, or this is the track that keeps going, the Cobra track. And you're going to go up and up and up. If it gets here, you lose. Matter of fact, there's lots of ways to lose, but we'll get into that shortly. Also, we have the G.I. Joe deck building game manual. We'll talk about that later. Everyone's got an opinion. So do I. And then for those of you who are really on the cusp of wanting to enjoy it no matter what, that also comes with the Shadow of the Serpent expansion, which I will not be showing here. I have started dabbling in it, but not enough to give it a full review, although I'm definitely positively looking forward to what I see. And again, you have, well, the rest of the box just shows different portions of the mission and different heroes. There are 6 different heroes. Each one can be upgraded. So when you get a hero, you can upgrade them. And when you upgrade them, they do even more powerful and awesome things. Go Joe. All right, let's get into an example of play. So the very first turn you take, all you're doing is buying stuff. And so I'm going to go ahead and just go, hey, I've got 2 buying powers. Is there anything I can buy? This is just sort of a preparatory step. As a matter of fact, the starting round only. It's the only part that's blue. And then you go, you know what, I'm going to take the muskrat. Again, like a couple of the games, you put it on the top of your deck and discard the rest. And so we'll do that. There's the 2-player game. Uses this, which allows you to put a card in here during your turn, and then after your turn you draw back up to your hand size plus this, and so you can always have a little bit of an extra nudge of your deck and kind of be a little bit more capable in strategizing which cards to keep and which cards to play, etc. Anyway, and then yeah, so then we did that, we did this. You know, same thing. Oh my gosh. How did we wind up doing that? Let's do that instead. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so then we have, 3 buying power. Oh, automatically refill, 3 buying power. Everything's still at 2. I like low light. Why do I like low light? Low light is, he's a Joe. And so he can go on missions. Buying power of 1, cost of 2. If the thing you're attacking has a susceptibility to the tracker, you're going to get to roll 3 dice, not just the regular 1. Also, if you're in a particular condition where you're on, say, the red vein of the track, you're going to get to draw an extra 1 too. So we'll do that again on the top of our deck, discard, and then we're going to, well, once we figure out how to, you know, arrange cards, we're going to do 5 more cards. Whoosh. And we're ready to roll. Now we're going to get into the serious turn. All right. So at the end of the round, Starting round only, we're going to go here. All right, we're ready to roll. First thing we do is at the end of the round, activate any penalties. All the cards, different cards have different penalties, and every single card does something a little bit different, a little bit crazy. You never know that there's end of round triggers, there's end of turn triggers. A round is everybody taking all their turns. A turn is an individual player's turn. So, story mission, we're going to put out the first mission to play. What does it say? Find the tracking device. Story mission, group mission. To create an accurate signal transfer, Cobra needs to place a tracking device. Near the location. The Joes can't let this happen. When we put this into play, there's two things to note. One, this is a tank mission, so if you have a transport with tanks, it's going to be susceptible to whatever benefits you're going to get from that tank transport. If not, you can take anything, but it's just going to give you a little extra edge if you take the land, sea, air transport, and two complications. So the first thing we're going to do is use the two complications. We're going to set them face down, and we're going to put Major Blood into play. All right. At the start of each player's turn, place a Cobra battalion on an uncovered card in the lineup with cost 5 or greater. Boo! Alright, so card effects, and that, threat meter. Threat meter, there we go. Alright, so now we're ready to roll. Everyone gets to take a turn. We're going to start with this side and then go to that side. Here we go. So, we are at the start of each player's turn. Cobra battalion. It's going to go on anything that's 5 or greater. Let's put it here to start with. So what happens, one of the losing conditions is if you ever end up with five Cobra battalions on all these cards, and you have to place another one, you lose the game. You're going to lose the game a lot. How do you win? You win by completing all these 9 missions and finish in basically doing, like, winning the last card of the mission. So you lose when the meter goes up, when you've exhausted all that, when you've exhausted the deck. It's just lots of ways to lose. The Joes, well, they gotta stand up against overwhelming odds. So anyway, and so this mission is ready. And when it's your turn, here's what you can do. You first thing you figure out is missions. What missions are you going to go on? Now, there's 2 types of missions, group missions and side missions. We haven't seen side missions yet, but we could. This is a side mission. Say that I wanted to take on a side mission instead of the main mission. Well, right now, I got some possibilities. Look at this. Look at this hand. I've got my hero, and he says he's no buying power, but wow, stealth. Roll 5 dice for each double rolled +1 hit this mission. That's cool. I like. So what is, and here, look, we've got this main mission for stealth. I like this. We're going to do it. So we're going to go on a mission. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a Joe in a transport. This transport can hold up to 4. It's very simple. All it does is hold 4. And it's going to do 1 mission. All right. Roll 5 dice. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll just go ahead and roll the 5 dice here. No, nothing extra. All right, well, he's got a 3 stealth roll, so we're good with that. And because it's a group mission, everyone else can contribute. So there's an opportunity here to contribute. And here we're going to look and go, ooh, do I want to contribute? Maybe. No, maybe not. So, well, we could. If we contribute, this card gets discarded. We don't get to use it for buying powers. So everybody else that's going to join the mission, they're going to lose a little something. So you want to look for cards that are going to help bolster people's decks back up if they're helping you out. It's all about teamwork, baby. All right, so we're going to add this, and this. Now we have 4. We've got the capacity, and we're going to go, let's go on this mission. So we need to roll 4 or greater hits. So Muskrat has stealth. He didn't get anything from his bonus, but he's got stealth. This is stealth and tracker, so both of those count. Which means we could have, if we really wanted to nail this, we could have used low light because he's got a tracker ability too. But we need to save him because there's going to be other missions. So anyway, so 3, 4, 5. 5 is what we're going to roll. All right, ready? Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. We did it. Now, technically, there are certain cards here that could have been used to beef it up. Here, if you've got this mission icon, then you can use this for rerolls, etc. We don't need to do any of that. So we did it. We completed this mission successfully. Now, while that's, oh my gosh, I forgot. No, we didn't, because we always have to resolve the complications. Okay. So side mission, precision strike. We have to assign this to someone. We'll assign it to this, and we'll see if this affects story mission. Reroll 1 hit. Okay, so we need to reroll 1 hit. Doggone it. All right, so we need to reroll 1 hit. Ready? And that's a miss. So then, say for example, we used this and rerolled again. And it's still a miss. So thanks to those complications, we went from success to not success. What does that mean? Well, 2 things. 1, we didn't pass the mission, so we're not going to get to reduce the threat meter on the track. Although that's not that bad, because you can never go back to blue, so whatever. And I'm not saying this is strategic tactical awesomeness, I'm just showing you the game. But each player gains 1 Cobra Trooper. Now that's the thing. Attempting the mission, it's going to resolve. You don't get to continue to try and pass this mission. It's done. We failed. Dun dun dun. So there we go. This is our failed mission. We didn't get the bonus, but we are still at least advancing on the storyline. We didn't get that, so it didn't help us out, but anyway. So then we have to put a Cobra Trooper. There we go. Yep, Cobra Trooper. There we go, in the discard. So that just clogs our hand. We can always play that as a side mission later and try and get rid of it, but there we go. Then we're going to discard this. We have these 4 cards. We have here, and then, this is the thing. No matter whether you use them or not, once you're done with the missions, and we're not going to do, I mean, we could have done a side mission, and you know what, we're going to do a side mission. I still have 2 Cobras left. I'm going to try this Cobra Battalion mission to try to get this card to not cover up one of the keys, but I'm going to roll. I'm going to roll 2. All I need is a 2. And look at that, I got a 2. 2 dead. That's tricky. It doesn't always work, but sometimes risk pays off. So that gets to go back, and now I don't have to worry about that card being covered up, and it's available for me to buy. Okay, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this goes back. So I got 4 buying power, which means I can buy a card worth 4 or less. And of course, I'm going to buy Alpine. If this mission fails, gain 1 card from... Okay, that's cool. And it goes back on top of my deck, and there we go. Now we've discarded it. Now it's the end of my turn, so now the threat tracker goes up, which isn't great because it means until I actually take this on, it's going to keep going up more, and I'm going to have to compensate for it. But anyway, this is kind of an idea. I'm not going to go much farther because honestly, you kind of get the feel. You're going to go through, everyone's going to take a turn. At the end, you're going to look and go, hey, well, at the start of each player's turn again. Now we're going to put this back down here. These stay in play, and then another story comes out with another complication, and then everyone's got to do that one. Again, attempting a mission, it's going to resolve one way or another. So unless it's the last mission, you can keep losing missions if you can weather the storm. But obviously there are benefits if you gain the mission that are going to help you, because this, by using this track and trying to keep it going up and down. And again, you'll, at the end of each round, for example, this special ability means it goes up 1, and then you resolve it again and go up 1 again. And then here, you combat Cobra battalions go on cards, and then you get into the red zone. It gets pretty crazy. Then you've got the 3 and 4 player version, but there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of just suspense and tension and things going on to just add to this, so that the missions themselves, even though there's only 2 missions in the base game, it's really a lot more than that. There's a lot of configuration, and there's a lot of cards, just a ton of different cards with fun, like the APC. You can take 8 people on this sucker. Hacking gear is cool. The gear's all cool. The people are cool. The people, the places, and the things are cool. And just really thematic, really contextual. Oh, I'm getting into my review. Anyway, let's get into my final thoughts on G.I. Joe, the deck building game. Okay, G.I. Joe deck building game. What do I think? Is it a real American hero, or is it dud in the mud? Well, let's go over the cons first. There are 2 particular ones I'm going to bring to note, one of which is just a caveat, the other is a con. I will say that it's been hammered on that the rulebook is not fantastic, that it's not, that it lacks information or has information in weird places, that it isn't precise enough, that it just has issues that make it really hard to dive into this deck building game. And I would say that I agree with that for the most part. I think the rule book is a lot easier to read and understand once you already know how the game is played, which kind of makes it a little bit self-defeating when you're trying to learn it, but after that it's fine. I would literally almost go through and kind of explain. I should do a manual transmission one where I actually go over what isn't well with it. There are places where information just isn't quite in sync. There are places where information is scattered, where it just isn't something where you can feel this. There isn't a lot of continuity. That said, once you know the game and you go back to it, you're going to go, yeah, okay, all that information's there. When I read through it, it makes more sense. Again, it's not a great onboarding, but it's also not, horribly, horribly terrible. It's not quite as bad. Anyway, the rulebook is a tricky one. I definitely recommend watching a video. I recommend playing it through and just noting your questions, writing them down, and then once it's written down, then go back and read it again, and it will become clearer to you. So that's that. The other thing is that one of the things to realize is that this is not your standard deck building game. I had the same caveat of another game that I think has some parallels here, Imperium Classics, Imperium Legends. Imperium Classics, Imperium Legends was a civilization building game that just happened to use decks of cards and adding and removing them. It was by no means what you would consider the modern deck building game. The idea of deck building game is taking a concept and simplifying it down to deck building, adding and removing cards, getting into this kind of Zen-like flow of how it goes. Lots of games have pushed the envelope and the edges along that way to add a little bit here, a little bit there, something clever, something not. G.I. Joe the deck building game is a strong departure from the simplified, rote, blah. It is not. It is a very different experience. I wouldn't say that it's as much of a shift in the expected paradigm as Imperial Legends, but I would say that you have to be in that same kind of mindset to understand. This is a game that has its own rules. It's why the rulebook should have done a lot better job of saying, if you have played deck builders, this is a new concept. This is going to be a little different, maybe even opposite to what you've expected. And that's why, because it's doing something it's doing something quite a bit better than your average deck builder if you're in stuff. So anyway, that's it for the cons and the caveats. Now let's get into the pros. G.I. Joe the deck building game exudes G.I. Joe. If you're a fan of G.I. Joe, this is a no-brainer to get, with the caveat that you take your time to learn it and you're going to be very, very pleased. Everything, like all of the equipment, the gear, the utility, the gadgets, the Joes, all of that just works really well to exude the theme of G.I. Joe against Cobra in the classic, cartoon show, back in the day kind of vibe. If you're not a G.I. Joe fan, I still think you could like it and like it well. If you just like a game that's not just a rote, simplified variant of your average deck builder, you should definitely give this a look. It's surprising how good it is. There's other things that I like about it are the feeling that you are doing something different than just the standard, two resources. Your resources are money, or your resources are victory points, or even when you go into take other games and you either have like the Dominion level resources turn into money, victory points, blah blah blah, and then you have even the dungeon crawling was like, okay, well, you build up, you beef up, and then you just match up enough strength to go get a different card that happens to give you Val at the end of the game. That's not what this is, and that's what makes it so righteous, is that it takes the concept of missions and it plays it out in a way that's plausible and fun and entertaining and gives you the feeling that you're equipping lots of gadgets. It's reminiscent of another game in a simplified fashion, but we'll get into that later. When you are putting together your mission, you have your vehicles. You have to figure out how many Joes are going to help, or you're going to put into this mission to take the risk. You're going to have to go, figure out what equipment you think is going to work best. You're going to have other people contribute, but their contributing is costing you or costing them. So if they contribute for you, there better be some, scratch my back, scratch yours. Somebody help them get their hand back up to full capacity before their turn comes along, so that you're not going through. There's a lot of timing, and you're not just going, okay, everybody, let's dive in and see if we get enough strength to beat, to topple this monster that doesn't do anything. And the other thing, it's almost like Killer Bunnies. You're doing this for the risk. You're not doing this to make it happen. You're doing this to give yourself the best possibility. You're on this mission. It happens. And you might have complications that mess you up, so you better have contingencies in your cards if you can help it. I love that. I love the way these missions play out. They feel for the first time like missions. Other games like Legendary or some of the Craptozoic ones and stuff, where you're just like, it's very out there. You're there. And Legendary is one of my favorites. Don't get me wrong. I love that. I love what it's doing and stuff. This, though, takes it and really wraps it in the feeling of going on a mission with your buddies, playing out how the mission went, dealing with the blows, and none of these are the other point is, I love the fact that none of the things you do, if you fail a mission, for the most part, you get a detriment. You do not get a death sentence of gameplay. You're not knocked out generally. It can contribute. The threat meter's going up, but you can manage it. The randomness of the die, again, you're going on missions, you're getting just enough to be able to roll die, whoosh, roll die. How did it happen? You still are at the mercy of the random numbers, but you also have mitigating factors all the time, and you also have ways to beef up the number counts. I love the fact that you have if it's this type of mission and I have that type of crew, I get more dice. Again, the dice part is actually pretty simplistic. I don't think I love it, but I love the fact that everything around it helps just add more die. Usually that's something I don't like. I don't like games where all of your skills, abilities, attributes are just like add a die, remove a die, re-roll a die. That's really what it comes down to. All you can do at the end of the day is roll die, and re-roll die is what it all comes down to. There's very little that in general games that do that. This has the same simple mechanism, but where it stands differently is you are getting other things that are going on contextually, usually that work in your favor because you made them work in your favor. The other thing I love about this game is it does not leave you at the mercy of the unknown. I cannot stand games that tell you to prepare for stuff that you have no idea what to prepare for, especially when you're dealing with attributes. Or it's like, if you have this stealth, you better hope that this unknown enemy you're going to take on has stealth. If not, well, sucks to be you. You have no decision in the matter. It's all a crapshoot. I literally do not play games like that anymore. This does the right thing. It says, not only do you know the mission you're on, you know the mission you're going to be on. You get a little premonition. Not only that, but you don't get to have perfect knowledge of this mission. You have mostly perfect knowledge, but you have two unknown complications. You're going to have to grapple with the unknown partly, but not wholly, and that's what makes it interesting. Every time you're on a mission, it's going to be intense. You could overload all you can, and you could still get messed over by the die. It can happen. But again, it's not like if you fail a mission, you're out of the game and that's over. That's brutal. That's too brutal, and I wouldn't like it. Instead, you want to pass missions because a lot of those interim missions are going to benefit you in some way that helps keep everything from falling apart. If you fail a mission, though, you could put yourself in a position to lose, but it's not going to be out of the blue. You're going to know as things are coming up that this is, this is what you're heading for. This is what you can control. You have autonomy, you have mastery, you have license, and to be able to do things in this game the best that you can. You really feel like you're doing your best to outfit a game. So those are the things I love about it. And the expansion, I would absolutely get as well. Add some more cards, but it adds 2 more missions and stuff. And they really feel thematically like you're doing stuff with Cobra. Like the vehicles, oh my gosh, like they fit. Grabbing a vehicle, stuffing it with people, taking it out, like being ready to help out, communicating with and helping your friends. And the other thing is the player counts. Now, it's been said that 1 is the best player count. I don't know that I agree with that. I think my favorite player count is 3. 4 is good. 3 I love. 2 and 1 are okay. It's brilliant to make the 1 and 2 players almost the same, with just the tweak that you get to kind of keep an extra card in reserve. So you get a little bit more of a space to know what's going on and stuff. But generally speaking, it's great. It's great to see the different ways that the game can spread out to try to make you lose, not just by one threat meter, but also by covering up the cards in the middle, or getting to the last mission or whatever. Make no mistake, it's a hard game, but you feel good. You feel awesome when you're playing it. It's like a big 9-round prize fight where you're not just knocked out in round one unless you really stink at what you do. Can't happen. But in general, you have a way to go, hey, go Joe, let's do this. So anyway, in short, G.I. Joe, the deck building game, is a great recommendation for G.I. Joe fans. Once you understand that you're going to have to kind of play it through, just play some sample games, get the rules down, and then go back to the rule book, and it will fill in the blanks for you in ways that will help. The 4 missions are absolutely top notch. The game is fun. I could recommend it at any player count and feel good about that. The only game, it's one of my favorite tactical games. Well, there's several, but games that kind of give you that XCOM going on a mission feel. There's SEAL Team Flex, which of course is dexterity, but there's also Galaxy Defenders, which if you ever get a copy of it, I don't know if it's in print anymore, do it. It's probably the most XCOM-like dudes on a map game there is. But if I was to take something and put it into a card format, and to have the idea that you're on a mission and it just doesn't feel like you're not really on a mission, it's just using a game system to make some sort of a kind of a backstory that's not relevant. In the end, it just comes down to throwing dice and seeing what happens, or having enough power to be able to go, I beat you. Then you want this game. You want to take this game. It's tense. It has randomness that you're going to have to mitigate, but it has lots of rest stops along the way where you can kind of figure out how you want to do. You have a ton of cards and a ton of ways to pick from. With your friends involved, you can all kind of go look at what's ahead, make plans as best as you can for what's up ahead, do your best. And I've not walked away from this game, win or lose, without feeling like I had a great time. So that's it. G.I. Joe deck building game, recommended for G.I. Joe folks, and I actually think it's going to be pretty good even if you don't know G.I. Joe. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.